Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Loaf. I'm touching the microphone. Hopefully, you can't hear that. Okay. I wanted to do a little chatty episode today. I say that like all of my videos aren't just chatty. That is kind of the vibe of the whole podcast. But this one is definitely very casual. I wanted to talk a little bit about things that I am working on right now as a Christian and in my faith. And I feel like different seasons of life will always push you in different directions, and you're constantly learning different things at different points in your life. And sometimes I'm trying to learn lessons to make things easier on me. And sometimes when you go through things, you just naturally learn them. But here are some things that I'm like actively trying to work on. Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to also hear what other people are working on right now. And I mean, you might listen to some of these and be like, wow, that's, I want to work on that too. Or you might think, like, oh, sweet small child. Because, like, yeah, you might be like, yeah, baby. And I'd be like, yeah, I am a baby in so many things. So I have a lot of growth. I've decided to craft while I talk today. I don't know if it will distract me and weird me out and I'll get more sidetracked, or if it'll kind of hone me in and give me something to do. So I don't know. If you're a crafter, let me know what you're making, because total side note, as I said, very casual today. I love listening to things while I'm crafting, and part of it has actually been kind of problematic for me because I like making things. Obviously, I'm an artist, and whether, you're painting or drawing or crafting or sculpting, sometimes it's nice to kind of have noise, whether it's podcasts or audiobooks or videos. But also, I found myself kind of falling down the rabbit hole of just listening all the time. And it kind of almost sparked like a addiction to YouTube and an addiction to having constant consumption in my life. And sometimes I definitely think I get a bit prideful in the fact that I'm like, I don't get drunk, I've never done drugs, I don't have any addictions. And then it was like, look at your screen time. Look at how long YouTube has been open on your computer. And then I go, yep, I need to humble myself real quick, because if not, God will humble me. And sometimes I pray, I'm like, God, humble me. And then I go, actually, you know what? I don't think, I don't think I want what that actually means. So let me humble myself and bring myself down real quick, so that I don't have to be forced down, because not forced down, but like, I feel like y'all get me. I'm gonna just move on. But yeah, I definitely kind of spiraled into an addiction of just video after video after video. And when you find yourself watching like a 3-hour video of somebody summarizing some dating show, you realize that you've gone too far. Like, I was watching long recaps of people summarizing art, and I was like, how did I get here? Why am I listening to somebody talk about a movie when I could just go watch the art itself? And I was like, because yeah, deep dark hole. I guess that's one of the things that was not in the list of the things that I'm working on, but that is something that I am trying to actively work on, and it's not going well. Okay, I've been actively trying to cut YouTube and excessive consumption of content out of my life for a very long time, and embarrassingly so. I like to write out my prayers because sometimes my brain is all over the place, and I found like an old journal where I would write prayers, a prayer journal, if you will, I guess. And it was like, man, I feel so lazy. I watched YouTube and like crafted all day, and like, sure, it's not the worst thing you could be doing, but definitely it's not what I should be doing. And I just had the feeling of like, this is not what I should be doing. I am procrastinating, doing the things that I want to do, but also that I think God wants me to do. And so that was like years ago. And I was like, there's been times where I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut out social media altogether. But then part of my job and being an artist, I kind of have to be on social media. So then it's like, okay, well, I can't cold turkey quit it completely. But I might have to. And also, like, cutting out YouTube and content and videos, I need that for work. Not even just this, but like, because this isn't my work, but I need videos and music from Spotify when I am teaching, and I need YouTube when I'm sending videos to my students. Like, I do have things that I have to do on these platforms, but it's just such a deep, dark hole with a strong gravitational pull that gets me, and it gets me good. And it's been a long time of I'm going to do better, and then I don't, and then I want to do better again, and then I don't. And that is one of the things I guess I am working on. Again, wasn't really planning on talking about that. But I've made a rule for myself now. I cannot craft unless if I am in silence or I am doing something productive like this. Because, and let me get it right, I was not listening to like edifying things. I wasn't listening to a Bible audiobook. I wasn't listening to things that would help me with my craft or interesting interviews or even like audiobooks of old well-written novels. Like, I was listening again to like people summarizing crappy dating shows. Like, I wasn't listening to something that would better me in any way. Talking here, this community, I do think that there is more merit to this than whatever I was watching. So that is one thing that I'm trying to do. Well, okay, actually, I'm gonna hop past my number one that I was gonna talk about, because number two is I am trying to focus on meditation, longer coherent prayers, and fixing kind of my mental messed up attention span, which I feel like is something a lot of people can probably relate to. And I, again, kind of like to think of myself as like, oh, I get a little prideful with it sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm not as bad as some people. I'm worse, if I'm being blunt. Like, I'm not off the grid, not on my phone. Like, I'm on my phone. And I'm watching things, and I'm not watching good things sometimes, if I'm just being completely honest. And sometimes I'm scrolling, and I end up in a place that I did not want to be. And all of a sudden I'm there. Like, I roll over, and it's the first thing I do in the morning. And it's so bad, because like when I wake up in the morning, I grab for my phone, because if I don't, I go straight back to bed. Like, I am so tired when I wake up in the morning that the blue light and the stimulation is like the only thing that keeps me up after I wake up from an alarm. And so it's just kind of made a cycle where I wake up and it's like the first thing I have to do, or else I just go back to bed. And I can't bring myself to do anything else. Like, you know, like when you wake up and you just feel like a brick and like you cannot move, and like your joints are cement and your eyelids are heavy. Like, I don't know what it is. And when I've talked to my friends, they're like, that's not normal. And I was like, are you sure? Because I've always been this way. And so I don't know. Like, waking up is genuinely so hard, and it doesn't matter if I get more sleep. Like, I have slept 14 hours before, and I wake up in the exact same way. I feel like I slept 2 hours. I don't know. If anybody deals with that, let me know what you do to kind of jumpstart that, because literally the only thing that works is I will scroll on my phone for like 15 to 30 minutes, and then I feel awake. And I think it's maybe like the blue light or something. And I was like, well, can I just buy like a blue light lamp? But I don't have the money for that right now. So I don't know. Let me know if that's something. Where did that tangent start? I guess, oh yeah, my messed up attention span. I want to try to fix that and kind of enjoy slower, steadier, and also turning off the constant input in my brain to actually let my brain begin to process things, because I am definitely somebody who is constantly putting on music, podcast, video, something, so that there is something that I am listening to, there's something that I am consuming. And then when you turn it off and you sit in silence, it's not even like I'm uncomfortable with silence. Like, it's not like I'm uncomfortable with my thoughts. It's just that I'm like, okay, I'm bored now, and it's been like 30 seconds, you know? So the other day I actually went out, and it was dusk. It was like the sun was almost completely gone. That's what dusk is. I don't know why I needed to explain that. And I just sat outside, and we had had terrible weather recently, and it was actually kind of nice. And I just sat there, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And I think sometimes I feel like, oh, to be a good Christian, I have to be productive. I have to go out and I have to be doing things at every point of the day. And I think that that's a modern conception. I think, yes, we should be hardworking, but I think our idea of hardworking is different and maybe a little skewed. I think we feel like we have to constantly be doing stuff. We have to be on call 24/7 because of technology and emails, and we always have to be on, and we always have to be ready to be doing something. But we don't have as much intention with our work anymore. It's not as detail oriented. It's just doing things to get things done. Like craftsmanship, I think we all know, has gone down from furniture to clothing to, now we have fast fashion. And it's not like we're taking a lot of really hard work to make really intentional, well-crafted things. And whether that's like a well-crafted email or a well-crafted armoire or a painting or a musical or a movie, like we're not taking the time. And yeah, social media definitely has something about that, because we feel like we have to constantly be producing all the time. Like they're like, post every day on TikTok. I was like, you want me to do something every day that is worthy of posting? And it's not like work, you should be working every day, but a lot of that work, you work for a long time to get to the level, and then you have a finished product like at the end. Like you write a book for years before you finally publish it. And now with the internet, we're like, great, so you need to write and publish every single day. That's not care, that's not craft. And so sitting in silence and just kind of doing nothing and meditating and just being with God, not even like actively in this, I don't know if this sounds weird, maybe I'm wrong, but like not even like actively studying the Bible, and I'm reading this book, and then I'm going to read this book, and then I'm going to take notes on this, and then I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to do this new prayer method, and then but just like sitting and just being with God. And just like the sun kind of takes a while to set, and just sitting and slowly watching the sun go down and just enjoying, and just not even necessarily talking to God, but just being in his presence. I do have to say, I did have to save a frog. A frog fell into a bucket of water, and I did have to save a frog. So I wasn't just meditating. I had to help the frog. But it was so beautiful, and I think right now, maybe that memory is very potent in my brain. So I'm like, yes, that is something I want to work on. I want to meditate, slow down, enjoy, and just be quiet. And I hope that that is something that I can be reminded of, and that God will help me remember when in like 5 days, I'm like, I have to go do things, and I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I'm falling behind, and I didn't do enough today, even though I did 7 things. So yeah, I'm trying to definitely do less technology, more quiet time to let my brain breathe. It's been so overworked with with like sorting through and comprehending everything that I'm feeding to it, that I don't think I've given it enough time to fully process all of that, work through it, and then generate. Because as artists, as creative people, I think we are supposed to be generating ideas and concepts and art, and we can't do that if, I mean, maybe I shouldn't speak for us as a collective, but I feel like I can't do that if my brain is constantly being stuffed, and I have been stuffing my brain. And I think it got to a point where in the car, I don't even listen to music anymore. It's just like, I was like, silence. I just need silence. And I was like, maybe it's time for me to kind of elevate the importance of quiet in my life. I really want to try to not have technology right before I go to bed. And when I wake up, I kind of said waking up is going to be a difficult challenge. So maybe that will be something I tackle way down the line. But I kind of want like really quiet right before bed, so that I can just lay in my bed, talk to God, and just imagine things. Because that used to be something I loved to do, is just like lay down and imagine things. And I feel like I don't do that as much anymore. And I don't want to stop using my imagination so that I lose it, because that would be very depressing. So I got to use it so I don't lose it. The other thing that is, what else was I going to say? I started a sentence and I couldn't remember. The first thing that I want to work on, because I was just talking about the second thing. We got to go back to the first thing. The first thing I want to work on, or am working on, is feeling more reverence towards Jesus and God, being more in awe. I think I have never really been nervous or scared of showing God like my rock bottom, or being very messy, kind of. Like, not being messy with God, but like showing God my mess and saying, this is me, I'm incredibly messy, help. And I think I've also had an aversion for a long time from the very polished Christianity. My prayers, I really don't like praying aloud in church, or in prayer groups, or in Bible studies, or even like at the dinner table. I don't like doing that. There's a reason why I don't pray in these videos. One, it really doesn't feel natural to me, and I'm not saying it doesn't feel natural or feel right to other people who make videos, or who run groups and feel very comfortable and natural praying in those environments. For me, it just does not feel natural at all. I feel incredibly awkward, and and one of the reasons is because I just don't have that like prayer speech down. Like, when people pray in church, they all have a vocabulary or a cadence or something that, like, it sounds like a prayer. I've never had that. I can't even imitate it if I try. Like, that's how far away I am. I don't know the right words. I don't know how to make it sound like a church prayer when I pray. And a little part of me, I think, I had a whole thing where I was definitely went a little too extreme of being like, anybody who prays like that is faking it and is being performative. I don't think that's true. I think I really am sensitive to people who I feel like are trying to be holier than thou and be performative. And I definitely went too far, because something that is not natural for me could be incredibly natural for somebody else. So somebody else speaking in a very church reverent like way is probably they're genuine. It just doesn't feel genuine to me to do it that way. Anyway, all that to say, that's a whole nother tangent that I could talk about for a long time. Probably once I actually developed better ideas and words to convey those ideas. But I have always prayed in like a very casual manner, a very crying on the floor, a very God, did you hear what he just said to me type of way. And I think that's been the easiest way for me to get a very and develop a closer relationship with God and Jesus. But at the same time, I'm also aware that because I'm kind of like, Jesus is my best friend, he's always got me, I don't always focus so much on the fact that, like, hey, that is a creator of the universe, Lord of Lords, King of all. And that, you know, you're talking to the God who created everything. Yes, he is closer to you than you can be to yourself. Yes, he is your best friend. The only thing you need is, like, yes, he will listen to everything. He already knows all of my thoughts. So there's no reason for me to come to him in any way that is not 100% genuinely and truthfully me, because he already knows. So if I come to him in anything that is not 100% me, he knows. All of that is true, and this is the holiest, most perfect God thing to exist ever. So much so that ever doesn't even apply to him. It's how holy and how godly God is. So yeah, like if you see him, you die. People who have been in the presence fall down on their face and just start worshiping. That is something that I need to remember more. That is a side of the faith that I don't know if it scares me, maybe, but it's definitely something that I want to focus on more in my relationship. Yes, Jesus is my best friend. I will still tell him every little bit of drama that happens in my life. But I think I need to leave space, and I want to experience more of the awe and the fear of the Lord. Yeah, I think, yeah. Now the brain is empty now. So perhaps that is, what I need to say about that. I want to be in awe, but I also want it to be earnest, and I want it to feel real. And obviously, it's not just about feelings. We don't always feel the way that we know is true. We're not always going to feel in awe every single time we go to church. Now, will I always cry during worship? 100%. Okay, my spiritual gift, crying. But I'm not always going to have that like emotional sensation of awe rush over. When those happen, that's a really special time. It's a special thing to happen. But I don't know, maybe because I'm trying to also meditate and be quiet more, perhaps I can meditate on his holiness, how big he is, that kind of awe-inspiring nature of him more, and give a little bit more weight in that in my personal relationship with him. Because also I think, Jesus is my best friend is a lot cooler when you also understand the weight and magnitude of who he is. Because when you understand how big and wonderful and terrifying God is, terrifying positive, that makes it even more miraculous that I can talk to him like my best friend. Yeah. Okay, point 3. Moving right along. I want to focus more on pursuing all of the ideas I have now. I have a lot of ideas, so I don't know if I should actually be pursuing all of them. I don't actually know if that is possible. I got a lot of ideas up in this noggin, and I've recently started thinking about everything from God as a gift. And I think same thing as, sometimes forgetting how holy God is. Everything that we get is a gift from God. And I think that is something that I'm very quick to forget, to be honest, because I'm always like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do next? This next idea, and then we'll do this. I'm a little hyperactive, not going to lie. And I think sometimes that nature, which, that's just me. I don't think it's bad to always be moving and grooving and wanting to grow. However, I always want next. Sometimes I saw a video of this little old 90-year-old grandma, and she was like, I just look outside and I just think of how good God is because it's all so beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And I've never done that. I've never, like, maybe not never, but definitely not in a memory that I have where I've just looked and been like, this world is so beautiful and God gave that to us. So that is something that I want to try to do more. Slowing down, being grateful, being thankful, but then also looking at absolutely everything that I have is something that God has gifted to me, from talents to abilities to friends to, I don't make, I'm below the poverty line, but I have a place to stay. in Live, and I'm not scared of being evicted, and things like that. Like, yes, I want to get my own place. Yes, I want to be able to support myself better. All of these things, and I want to be next. But at the same time, I have also been given these great gifts to slow down and appreciate everything that God has given me. It is something I'm trying to do. I think everything in my life needs to be brought from 2 times speed back to 1 time speed. And then on top of that, looking at every artistic idea I have, every story I want to tell as a gift from God. The good ones. I have some ideas that really aren't that good. So maybe I shouldn't attribute those to God. Or maybe I should. Taking all of these artistic ideas that I want to do, seeing this is a gift, this is a present, which means I need to make them. I need to pursue these ideas. I can't get stuck in, and I don't even think I'm a perfectionist really, but I can't get stuck in this need for perfection, or this want of perfection, or saying, well, I don't have what I need to do this yet, or I'm not good enough yet, or any of the other things. If I have the idea, I want to start working towards it and starting to create it. And whether it is a piece of work that is very successful in a worldly way, or that I end up never publishing because it's just for me, or whatever it might be, I want to almost see them like not assignments, but like as a thing, like this is here, like an 8. There were like 8 different thoughts there that all got broken off once I get into it. I sometimes wish, like, man, could God just send me like a to-do list in the morning, and then I could go off and do it? Because that would be kind of nice. Because what am I doing with my life? I don't know. But seeing the ideas that I have, the creative sparks that I have, as kind of a to-do list of, okay, we're going to pursue these ideas because we have them. A little bit, that is what this podcast is. And I think I said in like maybe the first episode ever, I had an idea to do something like this for many times, and there were many iterations that just didn't feel right. But back then, I did pursue them. I said, okay, yeah, no, let's do this. And ironically, they all actually happened on the same Gmail. But I pursued them, and then as I was pursuing them, I said, no, it's not actually the right time. It didn't feel right. So then I left them. But it didn't feel like I was giving up on something important, because I did it, I tried it, and it wasn't right then. But now that I'm pursuing this one feels right. And whether this is the most popular video to ever exist in the world, or nobody ever listens to it, it feels right because I'm doing what I think I should be doing. And success in God's eyes is not the same thing as success in the world's eyes. And so, yes, money, fame, fortune, accolades, high views is what people want in the real world. That 0 views, but I'm doing what I believe God is calling me to do and what feels right when I'm, asking God, hey, is this right? That's success in God's eyes, I believe, for now. Ask me again in a week. I don't know. Hopefully I'll be learning more and more. And anyway, so yeah, I wrote in my notes, I like this. I was like, I want to use all of God's gifts, which is everything from, again, like my health, my talents, the fact that I have some stability in my life right now, fragile stability, but it is stable-ish. Using all those gifts like a new product. Like when you see something on the internet, one of the ads sucks you in, and you're like, okay, I'll buy this random gimmick that I know probably isn't gonna work, but I really, really want to try it. And then you get it in the mail. Or like a new cute pair of shoes. I need a new cute pair of shoes. Like, I only have tennis shoes and heels right now. I need like a nice like intermediary. Like, you know, something that isn't quite like a fancy heel, but then something that's fancier than tennis shoes. But I don't want it to be like a business shoe. Anyway, not important. But I want God's gifts to feel like a new pair of shoes that you just got in the mail, and you pick it up and you're like, I'm so excited. You're going to go make an outfit that's going to fit those shoes right now because they're new shoes and you're really excited to wear them. I think every single time I get an idea, I want to pursue it like a new pair of shoes. That sounds really dumb, but I think it's kind of true because sometimes it is really easy to get excited about material, worldly things. And I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I love a new pair of shoes. But if I'm not as zealous for what I'm supposed to be doing here on earth and God's will for me than I am for a pair of shoes, then I think I need to do a little bit of soul searching and reprioritize. Reprioritize. And it sounds a little silly sometimes to be like, yep, I'm more excited about new shoes than God. But I think if we're all honest, and it can fluctuate by the minute, by the hour, by the day. I think sometimes we are more excited about shoes than God. And so I think that's bound to happen. I mean, we are stinky little humans. Is that bad? That's probably bad to say. But you know, we're stinky little humans, and so we're gonna do that. We're gonna get excited about shoes over God. I think it is the recognition of that and the reprioritizing back to God on top of everything. But yeah, I really want to pursue ideas, and same thing I think with the same prayer journal, talking about like, oh, I don't want to be in this YouTube addiction anymore or this content addiction anymore. There were a lot of times where I was like, I am procrastinating doing the things that are important. And I'm kind of procrastinating because they are important, but I'm procrastinating doing the things that are important. And I shouldn't be doing that, but yet I'm still doing it. And I was like, there are so many things that I want to make and create that I'm just not. And I feel really guilty about that. And I'm kind of probably diving into this content because I don't want to think about how I'm not doing what I should be doing. Yeah. So that's honestly been something I've been working on for years. Hopefully one of these days, you know, it'll stick and I'll actually be able to conquer it with Jesus' help. Jesus, you want to help? You want to help me this time? I mean, you've been helping me the whole time. See, this is why I don't pray in front of people. This is how I talk to Jesus. I'm like, hey, you want to help me? Because I think I've been trying to do it on my own and then bring you in sometimes. But I think I need to bring you in from the beginning. And not just bring you in, but like you are the whole thing. Anyway, the fourth thing I think I'm really working on right now is trying to delight in not knowing. And it's funny because in one of these episodes, I was probably the one that says, I know nothing, and that's a good thing. Nobody knows anything. I was like, I'm not somebody who needs to know every little detail. Like, I think the example in that episode was like, if you tell me God can listen to everybody's thoughts all the time, I don't need an explanation on how he does that. I'm just like, yeah, cool. I don't know how it happens, but I'm sure it does. So in a lot of ways, I'm pretty go with the flow. I don't need a lot of answers on things. But ironically, the future, what I should do next, where I'm going in my life, why I'm here, as I kind of said, I'm always like, ooh, what's next? What's next? We got to do what's next. I'm always on to the next thing. Not knowing what's next is absolutely terrifying for me. And my last kind of chapter of my life, I guess, looking back, is I kind of gave up a lot of my plans. For most of my life, I had a very, very clear plan. This is what I'm working towards. This is what I want. And I'm going to do everything in my power to get there. And I even called on God's power. I said, I'm going to use everything God will give me to get there. And I think God was probably looking at me like, hey, so that's not where you're supposed to be. So there was that. And so I kind of went through a whole journey of letting that go, letting lifelong dreams go, because I was definitely idolizing those dreams. I was holding and putting my hope in a dream, a career art dream, over God. I was definitely kind of, in the most direct sense, I made that dream an idol. And that should probably be its own separate episode, because that's really what I was doing. Almost so, like, not even metaphorically. Like, if I'm being completely blunt and honest, like, it was a golden calf. And it was probably worse than actually having, like, a physical thing. Because it was not great. So I gave it up, that dream. And the scariest part is being an artist as your career, and having people be like, well, what are you working towards? And I used to say, I'm working towards this, and here's my plan, and here's everything that I'm going to do to get there. And now I say, when somebody's like, oh, well, what are you doing right now? I don't know. And I don't know what's coming next, and I don't know what to prepare for, and I feel like I'm kind of in limbo waiting for something to happen, but I don't know what it's going to be, and I don't know when it's going to come. Actually, I don't actually know if it's ever going to come, and I don't know what skills I need to be prepared. And yes, saying this out loud, I'm like, okay, but God's not just going to throw something at me that I'm not prepared for. So I'm sure there's things right now that are developing skills that I'm going to need when the next big thing, or the next big chapter, the next big chunk comes into my life. But as of right now, no idea. Absolutely no idea what I'm working towards. That's terrifying. Yes, I have projects that I'm working on. I have things that are important to me. I'm doing things. But I don't know what I'm working towards anymore. And when I say that to people in my life, even other Christians, I think a lot of them are like, okay. Luckily, I have some great people in my life who are like, that's okay, that's what life is, And I'm like, okay, does it ever get better? do I ever get answers? But I think a lot of people are like, oh, what do you mean? You're not working towards anything? And I'm like, well, I think I'm working towards a lot, but I don't know what it is. And the only thing that's really kind of quelling an absolute panic is the fact that I feel, it's so crazy. I'm so anxious. I'm so terrified, but I'm also oddly at peace. And whenever I think about the fact that I'm like, I don't know what I'm working towards, I can't describe it any other way except for, like, I feel God's presence just a little bit stronger, and he's like, it's okay. Like, this is what I want you to be doing. And I mean, I'm not somebody, I don't actually hear like a voice. And I specify that because I definitely, when I was younger and I heard people say like, well, Jesus told me to move here, I'd be like, am I playing on hard mode? He doesn't talk to me. And then, I started talking to some of my friends, and they were like, well, people in my life kept on telling me to move here, and I feel like I got some signs, and I'm like, oh, okay. So if you hear audible voice, good for you, sounds like fun. When I say I just feel a presence, I don't know how to describe it necessarily. It's not, I don't know. It just kind of feels, see, it's happening right now. But it's not like supernatural. Well, I guess it kind of is. It just feels like there is a little bit more presence around me, a little bit more awareness. Like the air is just a little bit denser than it was before. It's not like I'm feeling any sensations actually like touching me, and it's not like I hear anything different. It just feels like the air around me is just a little bit more pungent, a little bit more, not even electric, just a little bit more there, maybe a little bit more real. Anyway, I just clarify that because I know I always felt very insecure about being like, Jesus isn't talking to me the way that all these other people are talking, like he's talking to them. Like, God, Jesus is visiting a lot of people and he's not visiting me. And I think sometimes it's just language that I was misinterpreting, or how people would describe things, I would be like, oh, am I not a real Christian? Jesus hasn't told me where to move. Again, he might be telling you where to live, but everybody's relationship with Jesus is going to be slightly different because we're all different people. What was my point besides all that? That felt like an important tangent to go on for somebody out there, maybe. Delight in not knowing. Kind of like I didn't know how to describe that. But yeah, I have no idea what's coming, where I'm going, what I need to be doing. And it's a very odd juxtaposition of I'm terrified and so utterly confused, but I also somehow feel at peace. And I do think perhaps maybe the whole feeling of I have no idea what's going to happen next, I'm really kind of scared, and fully trusting in God. And even when people look at me like I'm a little crazy for being like, I have no idea what I'm working towards right now, that is all part of the journey. That I'm not trusting in other people's opinions. I'm not trusting in anything except for this kind of peace that whenever I'm like, I'm working towards whatever God is preparing for me for, that is putting a lot of trust into him. So perhaps God is wanting me to really practice trusting him. But it's a hard thing to do. Like it sounds so weird because I'm like, trust the God that knows the future and the past and is above time. Trust the God who made everything and me. Trust the God who controls freaking lightning and who commands the seas and who could literally move a mountain right now if he wanted to. Trust him? Yeah, that kind of sounds like a no-brainer. But practically speaking, it's really hard. Period. And the podcast. It's just hard because I want to know. I want to know where the lightning is going to strike next. I want to know when that mountain is going to move. And I don't. And you're like, but Jesus knows. Yeah, but I don't. And it's really hard. And I mean, let's be honest, I'm a selfish human being. This is involving me and my future. What do you mean I'm still single and don't know when I'm going to meet my future husband? What do you mean I don't have control over that timeline? I'm scared. I've never had a boyfriend ever. I'm going to die alone. And God's like, trust me. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to die alone. And he's like, hopefully saying, no, you're not. But I don't know. I have to trust him. I'm getting the vibe as I'm vocalizing this out loud that this is perhaps something that whatever is coming next, I'm going to need to trust God a lot. And so this kind of waiting period is perhaps is the trial period, the training period. I'm Luke Skywalker with Yoda right now, okay? I'm not actually doing the thing, but I'm being prepared and learning to trust now so that whatever happens in the future, I need to have this skill down. I need to have this way of life down. I think that's maybe what's happening, but at the same time, I'm a stinky little human with a tiny little pea brain, so I don't know. And because of those reasons, I really need to trust God. And deep down, I really do want to. Deep down, when I say, God, your will be done, I really do mean it. But a little bit more surface level, a little bit more where I operate day to day, I really want to know. And I really want my will to be done, if I'm being blunt. So really trying to remind and redirect myself all the time of trust God. I don't need to know. He will not lead me astray. And so I need to trust him. I have 2 little extra notes here because I've been yapping for a while. One of them is that I had a friend the other day. Oh, wait. Nope, I read that wrong. I heard somebody say, actually, I have no idea where this was from, but they said you have to let go of your desired outcomes in order to be open to God's plan. And I do think that is something that I need to implement a little bit more really in my life. I'm a big fan of, hey, God, can you make these 10 things happen in my life? By the way, your will be done. You know, I'm kind of like, hey, it would be really, really cool if you could make this happen in my life. But your will be done. Perhaps we need to flip the importance of, hey, your will be done. That is the desire that I want to implement. I have some ideas, but your will be done, you know? And he knows what I desire. And I always, I'm not going to go off on that tangent. We've been here long enough. And then finally, the last thing, this is kind of relating back a little bit to the earlier part of the episode. I had another friend that I was talking to, and she was talking about the book where every page is a day of our lives, and it's filled with what we did that day. That was the most, and she was comforting me. We were having a great conversation. That was the most terrifying thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And like, okay, I know that's a thing, right? But like, I was like, oh no, there are so many days wasted doom scrolling. Just, yep, that was a terrifying thought. Yeah, I probably want to rip some of those pages out. So thinking a little bit more into, if somebody has a book with every one of my days in the book, let's make that a good read. And I think even then, like the other day I was sitting out at dusk. I think that's a beautiful thing to have in that book. So it's not just about you need to grind and do more and be better and never have rest or never experience beauty and wonderful things. It's not an overworking myself, because I do like to teeter between nothing and overworking myself. Rest, relaxation, beauty should be in there as well. But let's use the time well that we are gifted. So those are things that I'm working on. As I said, some of these things I've been working on for years, and they're still there. So yeah, I'd love to hear things that you guys are working on, things that you're thinking about. Let's be encouraging, you know? Internet's a scary place. Yeah. It's always at the end of these that my brain is like, great, we sputtered everything in our brain out there, and then it just kind of shuts off. But thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys in the next episode.